I don't have a teleprompter, I never will. This is my speech. It's got 4 lines on it. I tend to shoot from the hip. But I can't thank John and Charlie and everybody here for your support any more than it's just, every time I walk into a room and there's even just one person who is there because they believe in me, it makes me go, wow. It's very humbling. I just can't, I can't describe it. I've loved this country since I was younger than most people start loving their country, and this is how I feel I can start to help it. So I want to talk to you tonight mainly about 4 points. Now, my dad, who's not here tonight, is a preacher, and I learned a lot because he went through seminary while I was a kid, so I learned a lot of what he knows. And he will tell you that any good sermon has 3 points and no more than that. Well, Dad, forgive me, but I have 4. Now, also, I have a lot of background in training in my company, and the motto in training is tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Okay? So here you go. So you're going to hear all 4 points 3 times. Okay? So the first thing I want to talk about, well, the 4 points are Morning in America, As Maine Goes, Politics Begin at Home, and Arnold Palmer. I'll save the best for last. So let's start with Morning in America. How many remember when Bill Bennett was working with Ronald Reagan, right? And we had It's Morning in America. I was years old. And I remember it. It was actually, I was sharing with somebody outside my first actual interaction with politics. I actually ended up spending the night at my best friend's grandparents' house, and they were lead volunteers for Ronald Reagan. I slept in their den. I couldn't sleep. It was full of Ronald Reagan information, so I read it. And I went, oh, this kind of makes sense. So Morning in America, and it's kind of come back into the limelight lately, and I've been thinking about this a lot, especially over the last 48 hours. And I think it is time for Morning in America. But one of the other points I'll make later is that much like we've all heard charity begins at home, so do politics. And I believe with all my heart that if we want to see Morning in America, we need to work on Morning in Maine. Some of you are probably aware of Mount Cadillac up on Mount Desert Island, right? Did you know that that is the first place in the continental United States that sees the sunrise? What a more fitting place for Morning in America to begin than the state of Maine. We can do this. You know, I look at other states and I look at things like what Jeb Bush has done for education in Florida. I look at Rick Perry and what he's done for medical issues, right, healthcare, and what he's done for job creation. And I look at people like Jan Brewer, who I know we don't really have the border issues that she does, but she stands up for what she believes in, and she does what's right for her state regardless of what the country says. And I says, you know what? That's who Maine should be. We should be the leader. We need to be the beginning of Morning in America. Because as the next point says, there's another statement. As Maine goes, so goes the country. Let's fix Maine. Governor LePage, the 125th, they've done some phenomenal work, and I could not be more proud of what they've accomplished. Now that said, I'm nobody's yes man, and just because the governor says it doesn't mean I'm going to go, okay, got it. But they've done some great work, and we need to keep that going. And to the point that John was making earlier, if we don't keep control of the House and the Senate, we will lose that. Okay? This is very important. We have to keep it. But I do believe that we can get back to Maine being the leader of the nation. Why not? Somebody has to be, right? Do you want it to be you or your neighbor state, right? When I was first interviewed by one of the local papers, I mentioned my uncle, who was born in Maine and was about to retire, and his lifelong dream was to retire in Maine. He couldn't do it. He couldn't afford it. He retired to New Hampshire. That's not okay. His taxes, his spending, his employment, those are all things that need to be coming into the state of Maine's coffers, and they can't. And that pains him almost as much as it does me. I want to see that change. I want to see us make Maine a place that people can come because they want to. So that goes, and it all kind of rolls. Charity begins at home, so do politics. Again, if we start fixing things here and we show other states what can be done and how to do it, then the country, the federal government, is going to have no choice but to sit back and say, look at what Maine is doing. It works. Let's do this. If New Hampshire can get away with out-of-state income tax, why can't we? There's no reason. So let's fix it. Let's start leading the country in these things. And you know what, my political experience, you could probably put it all on my pinky finger. Although I will say my pen broke in my hand tonight, and that did kind of remind me of when Sarah Palin wrote notes in her palm. But I don't have political experience, but in some ways I think that's a good thing. But what I do have is business management experience. I've helped run restaurants for major corporations for 20 years. I'm responsible for their profit and loss statement. I'm responsible to look at the sales coming in and saying, okay, this month I can spend this much money on dishes. This month I can hire this many people. I also have to realize, whoa, sales aren't good this month. I can't buy this many dishes. I need to back off. Our government doesn't get that. You know, I look at my business and I look at the government and I think, when times are tough in my restaurant and I need more supplies or I need more people or I need something like that, I can't just say, guess what, customers, I'm raising your prices. It doesn't work, they quit coming. The government doesn't realize that. There's an analogy here. The government is, in a way, a business, right? Owned and run by us, but it is sort of a business. They need to stop saying, we need more money, so we're going to raise prices, or in government terms, taxes, right? I have to cut spending, so does the government. There's a time for both. So we need to make those things happen. And the last thing I want to talk just briefly is Arnold Palmer. And no, I'm not a golf fan, much to the chagrin of my father. Again, sorry, Dad. But how many of you know not just who the golfer is, but have you heard of the beverage called an Arnold Palmer?
Yeah.
Who knows what that is?
It's lemonade and iced tea.
It's lemonade and iced tea. Now, this came to me the other day because one of my hopeful future constituents had mentioned to a friend of mine that I was too tea party to win in Thompson. And I went, that's kind of funny. I don't really relate with them much anymore. You know, back in 2010, when the Tea Party just meant tax too much already, I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's stop Obamacare. Let's da, da, da. Well, then it all kind of went, And there's a lot of good stuff that I still believe in, but they've also taken it to extreme. And so I don't really want to be lumped in with that. But at the same time, I am not a Kool-Aid drinker. And I don't care if your Kool-Aid comes from the right or the left, I'm not going to drink it. I'm going to make my own opinion. I'm going to listen to the people who live in my district, and I'm going to say, this is what they want, so this is what I'm going to vote for. And that's what I call the political Arnold Palmer. We'll mix what we need to mix. We'll take the good ideas from both sides. We'll work together, and we will fix Maine. And as goes Maine, so will go the country. That's why I want to represent you. I can't think of much else in life besides my family that would mean more to me. I just want to see Maine thrive, and I know that we can do it, but I know that it's going to take people getting in there to do it. So if you will back me, if you will help me, send me your friends, your neighbors, I don't care, your enemies, as long as they won't, like, you know, you bet. But seriously, I need your support. I can't thank you enough for being here tonight. It means the world to me. And I love our state, I love our country, I want to see them both thrive. And if there's anything that you want to talk to me about or you want to know more about where I stand on an issue, there's palm cards and so forth on the back table. Sign up, let me know. I'm more than willing to talk with anybody about anything. That's what it's all about. That's what I'm in it for. There's also just a couple of other things on the back table.